Welcome back, everybody. This is the Refresh Point. My name is Ben, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Steve. How's it going?
Doing pretty well. We're back home again.
We're back again.
Not as happy as we could be.
Yeah, tragically, neither of us won Rosemont or broke into top 3 of Rosemont, so we'll have to try again in order to get a Worlds qualification. But 2 Dallas natives did make it to top 8, so shout out to Bill and Hugh. We try not to dox people for the most part, but your names are already doxed. As far as I recall,
yeah,
courtesy of Bushi Road. But congratulations! Also, obviously, shout out to Clinton who won.
Yeah, friend of the podcast and definitely deserving of another win.
Hometown hero. You love to see that, like, right after you won, he got the certificate out from like whatever box they gave it to him in. He gets out his folder of certificates, slots it right next to the Rosemont certificate from last fall.
He's just built different. I don't know what to say.
It's like, I know the perfect spot for this. And shout out to the rest of the top 8 for making it through 192 players. Jeez.
Yep. Big event.
Massive tournament. Massive tournament. Grueling 8-round Swiss into the top cut. And so shout outs to everybody for making it. Congratulations are also in order to the winners in Austria. Shout outs to Jose and the others. We'll be talking about our trip to the Windy City, my upcoming trip to the big city, and spot some whales in our own midst today. So shuffle your decks, tap or cut. Let's get right into the refresh point with some breaking news. By the time that this releases, I think the draft will already be over, but some of the members of the community are setting up a team league called the Trigger League.
Yeah, so this is an extension of the already existing, it's like a revamp of the existing league that has been going on Discord for some time now. So we're talking about team play. So team online play, basically schedule 5 matches, best 3 out of 5, and then we have draft teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see how the teams pan out, which we will know actually, like, when this drops, we'll have known for like a week and a half, but it'll be fun. I'm interested to see how the league goes, how like the team compositions are. I know that Goth Mominus Hillary is team captain of Team Shot. And I'm not sure exactly like what kind of decks we're going to be going for besides jamming 2 souls and shot down the throats of everybody and seeing what comes out the other side.
Yeah, so a feature of the league is that every team is based around one trigger. I don't think it's a requirement that you use it, but it's like an ideology type thing. It's like the colors of magic.
Yeah, so go Team Freedom, America. So with that, let's hop into the Spy Corner.
Yeah.
We went to Chicago. Did not do as well as we hoped. Steve got a lot more into contention than I did, as far as I recall.
Yeah, so I was in it until round 6. So yep. I was 4-1 going in round 6, where my second loss was to the player that eventually got top 8. With Azkigura, and literally the longest level 3 game I've played in some time. We were both level 3 for 2 turns, and he was level 3 for a 3rd turn.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, it was
if you don't draw the climax.
Yeah, it was a very awkward game where I had to use a bunch of my resources to get the rest of the deck empty so I could hit 3 and try to win, because I was terrified of his 3, which turns out I didn't need it to be because he didn't have the climax to do it. Then he triple blocks, I triple block, and it was an awkward game, to be sure.
It was a whole thing. Yeah,
my 2 losses were to the guy who won it and the guy who got top 8. So you know what? We take those.
We take those. Because I had to buy, and I cashed it in because I was like,
why not?
I stayed in when I was X2, so I was 4-2 going into round 7. My 2 losses were to Hololive I pretty stupidly hit him up to 3, and I didn't realize kind of like I was doing it, and I was like, well, that's death, and it
Yeah.
was. And then my second loss was to a Yuna deck, actually. Mother's Rosario with Yuna from the anniversary set, and I death gripped the anti-early punch like the high heavens, and I got it. And so he only had 1 minus soul board, and I got double Benimaru afterwards. He didn't die, I didn't die, and then 3 vanilla swings for lethal did not kill him. So he had money by that point and could Mother's Rosario me to death.
That's crazy because it feels like that matchup is absolutely cursed for the Yuna player because Muron's power is high enough to
I did
get
have
over.
I did have a pretty poor game, like early game, so like did not have like the board. I only
Yeah.
had like 2 Murons. But we did punch, so we did get to keep 1 and clear 2 Yunas. So yeah.
Well, you can lose any sort, like no matchup is completely unwinnable.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, a main driver of why I do not believe that in that deck in the current environment is partly because of Overlord, but partly because of Slime. Because 13-5 is the wrong number to be trying to fight an 11 with an 11k.
Yeah.
And their best backup is a 2.5 that returns to hand, and the 2.5 makes you tie. So paying 3 and then paying 1 and still not having minus souls on the follow-up turn does not feel good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's awkward, but yeah, taking too much damage at the wrong time, not being able to set up at the right time, can be problematic.
Yeah, and then my round 7 game, I drew all my climaxes and died.
Yeah.
Yep.
A thing that happens in Weiss sometimes.
It does. And,
So,
you know, yeah. And that was kind of it. I ended 4-4 because I played the last round anyway, and then I drew all my climaxes and died again.
yeah. That,
You know?
that's real awkward.
Tis life.
Yeah, so I played Alice, and I generally felt like it performed well all day. There wasn't really a game where I thought that it was completely doomed. At least not in the first deck, I'll say. Like, all the Alice combo and all the Alice parts worked flawlessly. The game I lost to Clinton had a really unfortunate bottom of deck 2 where it was like draw a climax, draw a second climax, climax trigger, climax on bottom to block. And so it's like refresh 4, lose the game basically at that point because you're just going to eat, you know, damage good. But
Yum, damage good.
yeah,
So tasty.
but let's talk about top 8. So we got another slime victory. So that's 2 out of 3 slime.
Okay. So, like, one of us that's going to New York, we get to win Slime in New York one more time so that one of all of us can get our Worlds invite, and then they can hit it. It's perfect timing.
So this is another 8 pants. We're talking about Shizu Muron, the standard build, we'll say. The no build for slime is truly standard.
There were three slimes in top 8.
Yeah,
and
all
they were-
different.
yeah, and they were all different, and they all had like different setups too. So I fought against this variant, just not the specific top 8 player, but this variant of like running the book Shizu.
Yeah.
From set 2 along with the other 2 Shizus. They ran 1 book and then 7 pants, which is, you might think is a lunatic play, but realistically you kind of just like, you have pants and he typed in a 3-2 that salvages a climax. So
Yeah,
like,
that's the Soe.
yeah, Quiet Anger Soe. And so it was like, we can get it. Shizu searches herself, you know, like,
Yeah. It's the finisher that was played by everyone prior to set 3. It's just burn 4. Sometimes the game demands that sort of finisher where you need more reach. It's a totally fine thing that I have no problems with. It's just
Now that
I don't know.
The lunatic play that I see here is that somebody played all piercing light Rimuru, and they did make it to top 8. To be fair to them, but man, I hate the concept of this finisher, but maybe it just works. But I hate it. So it's on attack. It's a choice. So it's 6 pants, 2 choice. On attack, if you have another character, burn 1. And then discard X. X is equal to the number of the finisher on stage. And for each card you discarded, the card gains 1k. You mill the top of the opponent's deck. And if it's a level 0 or lower character, burn 1.
Sure.
Which, like, we have to coin flip a character. It has to be a 0. It can't be a climax. And then you get burn 1 off of it. And so
yeah.
And then you have to discard hand for this. Like, you have to discard, like, if you did 3 of this effect on 1 Rimuru, we're discarding 3 hand, and at that point you probably have no hand.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do here is like end a close game, basically. So
which is why Benimaru is still in the deck. Like, it provides more reach than this one kind of half the time.
Yeah,
but
so this
man,
is
it feels weird.
This is the type of combo where you want to fish for damage, and you do have a whole bunch of small packets, which is kind of nice, and milling from the top of your opponent's deck can have the possibility of just removing climaxes straight up. There's a couple things to like here. One of them is the aforementioned climax milling that can go on. The other thing that's kind of nice is that the reliability of this mechanic goes up as the game goes on. If you think about it, you're going to start to conserve high-level cards in your hand more and more as the game matures, because you're going to want to make sure you can execute your own end game. This is going to lead to a saturation of zeros in the deck. So generally speaking, you're going to have more zeros in the deck at the end game than you are at any other point in the game, probably.
Sure.
So that being said, the game needs to be kind of going well, because you're going to need a crap load of hand to pull this thing off.
Yeah, and the thing that I like normally about Slime is that if the game's not going well, because you have a climaxless finisher, you can kind of just scuff it out and also still have reach, especially if you have Xion.
Yeah, so
this requires probably at least 2 piercing light Rimurus to have like a good effect. You need the choice, and then ideally you'll have a Benimaru or maybe a Dragonoid Milim, because Dragonoid doesn't cost hand, cost money, so which you're not spending.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you'll get to toggle it based on how you think things are going with Muron at level 2.
It does have, or it has actually 2 Dragonoids.
Yeah.
And it does have 3 Benimarus.
Yeah.
And so honestly, at that point, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just like, we have the option select, and so screw it. But
it adds a choice trigger to the deck, which has the possibility of generating you some extra resources. Only 2 probably trigger, maybe 1 in a game, maybe, or maybe like 0.5 in a game, which is fine, honestly. There's always going to be extra cards kicking around that can go to sock. Who cares? It's totally fine. This thing heals on play, so it facilitates either strategy of like heal down and wait or not. Benimaru heals on play. There's just a lot of healing in this deck. I don't have any problem with it. I think that it's an okay strategy. Is it worth finagling it into the deck? I mean, that's for the player to decide.
I mean, it was worth it for him. He got top 8, right? Yeah. I didn't. So like, I'm not gonna come out and like shit talk it or anything. It's just, it's not something I don't think I could pull off for sure.
Yeah. And if it's, it could be worth mentioning here, but in addition to these 3 different configurations, there was also a 4th configuration that almost got top 8 as well. That the legend Riaz was playing.
Wow, you're just gonna expose him like that?
I'm gonna. if you're gonna be a 2-time world champion, you have to accept all of that comes with it.
Bro, what?
So,
All right, so what
he
is
was
it?
playing the Sorcerer Rimuru combo,
Yeah.
which is the
win combo.
pay 2, burn 2 from
Uh-huh.
set 1.
Yep.
And then on play, check 3, add 1.
Check 3, add 1, pay 1, search another copy of
Right.
itself.
Yeah, so
Play the
you
stage.
can, no, it doesn't search it. It jams.
Oh,
it plays
it
from
jams
hand.
it from your hand.
Yeah,
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
So there was an even 4th other configuration using completely different climaxes.
Yeah.
So, is there a lot of ways you can play slime right now? Yes.
Yeah.
As many as you like.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, I'm sure that at one point somebody will come in with the Soe configuration with like
for sure
the burn
the other
4
pants. Yeah.
not even just that. We could do the other pants. No, it's not a pants. It's like a check 2. I'm gonna double check here. It's
The Soe?
yeah. It's not on a pants. I'm like 90% sure.
Oh, okay.
It's on like a not pants climax, which is like the rough part about it. Why is it not here? It's definitely in set 3. It definitely should be here in decklog. Hello. So there's like a 2 soul trigger. It's like salvage a trigger and give 2 people soul from set 2. And then that finisher gets like, I guess that one was showing up, so we'll at least talk about that. So that one gets you, it has shift, for fun, I guess. And then you get, on attack, okay, hold up. On attack, mill 2, deal X, which is equal to the trigger icons, milled. And then shuffle 3 back.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like less good silica.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost anything. You get
Right.
shift level 0.
Sure, who cares?
So, or whatever. It's a blue card shift.
Yeah.
And then the other Soe, which is on. Here it is. Okay. Yeah. Battle in the dense fog. Oh, it's just misprinted in decklog. Nice. Hey Bushiroad, you have a card named Battle in Dense Fog Soe. You already had to errata it because it doesn't put opponents' characters into your deck. Now then, in decklog, I would appreciate it if you changed the name so that it was spelled correctly. Because you're missing a U. Just want to let you know, shout out to Bushiroad, please make the change. We can make the tweet. That would be great. It's pay 1, ditch 1 on reverse. If you have 5 or less stock, you can pay the cost, burn 4, and then put the character on the bottom of their deck. So it's just like another reach thing.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, Soul Slicing Thread is not pants. Nope, it's pants. I'm trolling. But yeah, you get like an on reverse finisher, which I hate that right now. I'm not gonna lie.
It seems awkward to pull off in some matchups, but in many matchups, I feel like it's doable. So.
That's fair because you
Don't
are
you
playing
get plus
slime.
2k power? Yeah.
Yeah, you are playing slime. You do have the board, so
Yeah.
fuck it, right?
What's notable here is how much Austria has no slime in the top 8.
Oh yeah.
So, apparently, Europe is not as hot for slime, or maybe...
Europe was hot for Hololive.
Yeah.
If we want to double check that here, shout out to Francis Ho on Twitter, who was just live updating the world. 21 Hololive players
in a 63-person event.
Oh my god.
That's insane.
9 Sao players, 4 Beijing, 4 Danmachi, 3 of 7 DS, 1 Escanor. One of them was Elizabeth Hendrickson list.
Yep, that got top 8.
That did get top 8. 3 Dal, 3 Quins, and then just a smorgasbord of other lists.
Yeah, the others.
Yeah. But
so
yeah,
2 slime players total.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And 21 Hololive lists, and the one that won was 8 Standby ASCII Choco.
Yeah, so this is a take on the 8 standby builds that have been kind of kicking around. There's been a few different people who have talked about 8 standby builds and have done like deck tutorials on 8 standby. There's a number of ways you can build it. This particular build is using ASCII Choco,
and we're focusing here on Himamori Luna, specifically the 3/2 that gets -3 level while on stage, because Luna, on reverse.
You can't side attack this, by the way.
You can't side attack this. On reverse, discard, burn 1. And then on frontal attack, you can scry the top to topper waiting room.
Right, and we're talking about base 11.5 power. So,
yeah.
Big body. Obviously, it's a standby deck, so we're going to have lots of supporting cast.
Why don't we have Choco for a 3,500 punch on top of any other punch that we might have?
Right, so the 2/2 Choco combo isn't very flashy. This is kind of reminiscent of an older standby like design where you get to put out a 2/2 and then stand it. The body for it is not very good. We're talking about an 8K, but you can sacrifice it when one of your other characters is front attack to produce 3,500 power.
It's like the old Geld, but like it's on a combo, so it stands itself to attack with.
Right, so it's just better. But the rest of the shell is pretty standby looking. Lots of level 2 counters, lots of deck speed. So we've got 4 Aqua consoles, which is an obscene number.
Hey man, they want their Watame money.
Yeah, dude, they want that money.
The Watame money is crucial, man. Come on.
Yeah, so they're running the Watame that mills both players top, and whoever has the higher level card gets to get a free stock. So
well, no, they don't get a free stock if they win.
Oh, you get it. Yeah, you get it if you're higher. Yeah. They never get anything.
They never get anything. They just get a medal.
It's a top stock also. So being able to scry it and then know exactly what it is pretty slick. You have the ASCII combo, which we're all familiar with at this point, where we kill the climax and tutor. We have the standard sort of 1/1 body in the IMA, like a 1/175 with hand on core.
We did it, yay!
And then on the top end, you've got a bunch of healers. We have the downgrade available, and then stock swap and one of the Musashi, just in case
it's like a classic standby deck.
Yes,
honestly,
it's very much a standby.
It's just
deck.
like a real classic. Like, I get bored, you die.
Yeah, it's a 26 trigger standby deck. I mean, it's just this is as straightforward as you like. I'm curious as to what matchups they faced. I feel like this deck does very badly against Alice. Like,
I mean, there were only 9.
Yeah, fair.
You might have missed it.
Fair enough. It's probably faced Hololive all day, and this is the type of deck that will body you if you're playing Hololive, because it's hard to get Amelia to work against a deck like this because they have a way to jump off the board, and the way that jumps off the board gives 3,500 power to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So it makes the power numbers very awkward. It's definitely a deck that can work, and if you get face down by this Luna for enough turns, you can just get poked relentlessly while they're constantly blocking. So
all right,
yeah.
And so before we move on a little bit further, we did literally cut away from Rosemont to go to Austria, but I do want to finish Rosemont here real quick.
Yeah.
Because we just talked about slime. There was only one Hololive also in this top 8. Shout out to Bill. Which was Asgigura. Everything else was the 3 slimes we mentioned, one Escanor list, and an Alice Kirito list, and a what is it?
2 Ichikas.
2 Ichikas, one of which running the 3 climax split for the defensive scry, one of which was not.
Yeah, so the player who got second, his Ichika list is just 4 and 4. The finisher and the 1 combo, no defensive play, instead opting into some burn play where we have the on-play reveal if it's a character burn 1, and then we have the changer who pays 2 and taps to burn 1 and then changes into any card in your hand, basically.
Yeah.
So we're opting out of defensive play into offensive play, which I don't hate. I feel like Weiss has always been a game that's rewarded offensive play over defensive play, no matter what Japan thinks. But but in this case,
Sure.
It worked really well. Escanor getting third in both regionals, reminding us that is still a very real deck.
Dude, Escanor, I like, I don't think they would ever ban it again, but like, it's always going to be a deck that's relevant, which is, I think, something that's interesting to consider in kind of this meta, and especially when there are more English exclusives that will inevitably come out in the horizon that will kind of keep throwing in more threats. Because if you're the kind of person that looks at the JP metas and like kind of takes a little bit of that over, there will always be some English, decks that'll be like, hi.
Remember me? Escanor is going to stay relevant for a very long time because it has two things that will work regardless of how the meta shifts in terms of like game plan. We have a combo that is difficult to interact with. It's basically a back row combo that is going to produce resources consistently it's very hard to interact with. And then we have a finisher that does very consistent, reliable, lethal damage from 3.
Yeah.
If you are 3 against Escanor and they have multiple Escanors, you are going to die.
It doesn't even really matter if they bounced you if you're already at 3, to be honest.
Yeah, and so while it does lack the super killer reach that it had before, it's still extremely lethal from 2.5 or 2.6 and beyond, and basically is only limited by its own ability to set up. Now, the things that work well against Escanor, the things that people are playing defensively to work well against other decks work well against Escanor.
Yeah, and so in the current meta, it is, fairly difficult to make things happen in the sense of like, Overlord gets like the board wipe, and one of the guys gets hexproof, so you have to bounce a different guy, and you're never gonna kill the finisher. And they have a tap counter, so you're going to have to always avoid that lane in particular. Slime gets the benefit of the hexproof in the back row, and even though if you only have 1, they would still have to bounce 2 to get a bounce on the front row.
It makes the setup much harder.
Horrendous. And if they get 2 Shunas set up on you, no bounce. Congrats.
Yeah, and in those games, you need to hope that you're close enough to where you can bring it home.
Yeah. Just close enough in damage that, like...
Just don't try.
Yeah.
Like... It sucks to... the other thing is memory backup, right?
Yeah.
So Escanor needs the full field. And so...
Slime has memory backup too.
Slime makes that matchup very awkward.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of the defining feature of Slime and why I feel that it's doing so well in the meta right now is it has very few weaknesses that can be preyed upon by other sets, and it also denies a huge swath of mechanics to where it is difficult to interact with them because their whole board is hexproof. So many things that people use to interact with boards that are complicated. So the stuff people use to work against Alice, the stuff that people use to work against anti-early, like
I mean, it's not even
minus.
early.
That's what I mean. That like people have built decks at this point to deal with characters that are big, characters that entered the board early, characters that are like problematic to your game plan. And Slime does not let you interact with their characters in any way because they're playing them on level, they're playing them with hexproof, and they're giant. Starting from 2 on, it becomes very hard to interact with them.
Yeah.
And so because but they can continue to interact with you. And so because of that trade-off in interaction where their interaction gets to work and your interaction doesn't get to work, that is a very powerful thing for the decks that need those game plans late game.
Yeah. And even though, like, the only thing that you could say it's weak to is the thing that every deck is weak to, and that if you take 14 damage...
Getting clobbered.
If you take 14 damage in 2 turns, then, like, life will suck. But even then, like, if they're clobbering you back at least a little bit, then that means when they get to 2, and if their hand isn't horrible, they get 1 or 2 Murins off, and then they can still set up and try to kill you anyway. And,
I think the thing that they lost adding set 3 is the early game consistency that they had before. it felt like when there was just set 1 and 2, the deck was highly focused around early game reliability because the medium to late game reliability would come from that. Where it was like, I play some guys, I get a mask, I cast the mask,
And
I
honestly,
get all the 1-0s, I put all the 1-0s on the board, I combo with the 1-0s, I get a bunch of healers, I heal with the healers, and then I use this book combo that I only need 1 of really, and then I search out the other book combos and then I combo you.
Yeah.
So what
and I don't even know that that's like. I think that's an early argument from some of the early slime lists that we're seeing, but like I don't even know that that will remain the case. Like people are starting to tailor their deck lists for more early game reliability, whether it's playing Mask anyway, or just playing more Rickies, or like playing more things to, you know, kind of get our 1 combos off into getting the 2 combo off into winning the game.
Yeah, so in that vein, if you look at the deck that won, we're seeing options into literally every 0 that they could option into. It's all here. Like, we have the Ricky, we have the TD Rimuru, we have the Chaser, we have the Soe, we have the Veldora, the Milim, the Ramaris. Like,
Chalk one up for a second episode in a row that this image editing will be horrible.
yeah,
Horrible.
we have literally like 2 or 1 of every
yeah.
0 that you would want to run in the whole deck.
And it just works, Smile, because, like, they fix into each other, or Shizu gets it, or, like, yeah, like...
It's just a dramatic... It's just I think we're starting to see a shift away from, like, a lot of these cards were being run before, but it's my personal opinion that the Milim into yellow Ricky is a better configuration.
Yeah, I think people are starting. I think people are starting to shift away from the old man a bit, because in the mindset of denying people doesn't really matter. If we just get our setup and we get it consistently, then nothing matters to us because we're just gonna win.
Yeah, and I think that no matter what, you're gonna see some combination of the Shuna Get To and the Rimuru TD. Those cards probably never leave the deck ever. It's just a question of quantity, and figuring out the colors. But you don't need very much yellow in most builds to make it happen. So I think that's the quantity that will get lower and lower over time. It'll eventually, I think, be very few cards. And we're already starting to see that here. There's only 7 yellow cards in this deck. So
we keep talking about slime, but it's all over the place.
It really is.
And what is it? And the last thing I'll touch on is that I'm a believer, and I'm a believer in the Ramaris Punch. Whenever like the deck first came out, I was like, there's just a lot of resources for this, right? Because it's pay 2, ditch 3, essentially, right? You have to play the punch, ditch 2, pay 2 stock out, and it's like plus 6 soul to the enemy. But man, dude, I'm a believer.
If it's the last attack of the game, I'm here to tell you that you will want to have that hanging around. And the other thing is that it's the type of card that can extend a game that should have ended.
Yeah, and like you've talked about this before. I think you and I both believe that the matchup into Gura is a little bit worse than all of the other meta matchups, just because of its raw killing power. But dude, having this punch on hand, I punched. The configuration was I knew there was a block coming, and he swing with the vanilla, so I knew that blocks. He swings with the first Gura, and then there's a second Gura coming, and I'm like, okay, well, we need to block this soul, like this attack anyway.
The 4,
the 4, because if he gets me to like 3-4, 3-5, then he can side anyway. For he can side for value. Do the punch, block on 8.
Yeah,
I'll never discount it again. I was like, yep. That's why that's there.
Yeah.
That's what we need it for.
Yeah, so what we can say... also, shout out to whoever it was in Austria that played Danmachi and got top 8. Thank you. I was so happy to see that because I was like, somebody has to be playing this deck, right? It's not just me.
You were worried. Yeah, you were worried.
I was
like,
a little worried.
Come on.
But
Come
we're
on,
also
it's good. Trust me, Dan. It's good, bro. Come on.
We're also seeing like a big drop off in performance from SAO from earlier in the year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's still here.
It's still here. It's
like,
making cuts.
It's still making
doing
cuts.
just fine.
Yeah.
But is it overpowered? That's for the player to decide.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what I will say is,
now I know you wouldn't say it's overpowered.
No. But mostly because
Solid player that you are, you've lost enough games on it. You're like, this can't be overpowered.
It can't be good, guys. It can't be good. I would have already won if it was good.
Yeah, bro. Definitely, bro. Definitely not overpowered at all.
But
nope.
We're down to basically two. There's basically two builds here that are probably doing equally well. Maybe Silica doing slightly better.
Kirito Silica.
But yeah,
one gets you blue and like all the blue options, and one gets you shuffle back.
Yeah, so
some people are still playing Argo, and I did see some of them still like
there's
at the top
people still
tables
playing
near the day.
People are still
but,
playing
like,
it, but it hasn't made any top 8s, and I'll be curious. I think Silica's easier to pilot over a long tournament.
Sure.
You know, we're talking about the type of card that sets itself up, and so it's just easier to pull off. There's less moving parts in terms of getting the things you need. Not that there's anything wrong with Kirito. I think Kirito is very reasonable. But, but yeah, no wins for SAO, and no worlds for SAO.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's interesting to note. Also, I think with the way that HoloLive has been, I think we were anticipating better results from HoloLive than what they're putting out.
We were discussing this among some people, and I think I agree with the sentiment that because it only sets up its game plan and is slightly, I think it's actually more vulnerable to the take all the damage.
Yes.
Kind of because you're blind stalking so much, and then like if you get accelerated at 2, you kind of have to do the Ame anyway because you need the money. But if you're at 3 and they're at 2-0, it's still hard. Like it's not super easy,
Yeah, I think that that players are starting to come around to the idea that like this deck is very beatable because it helps beat itself,
and it doesn't really affect your game plan in a way that matters at all for the most part.
That's the other thing is that it's easy to play against in every way but damage, where you're basically like nothing they do is very oppressive. It's like their level 1 game is very blah. It's mostly zeros and like random dudes hitting you.
Honestly, I think reverse combos in the current meta, like you could coin flip it at a big enough tournament, and if you didn't run into
as long as you don't hit Alice.
If you don't hit a lot of Alices, dude, like the field sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and Overlord's kind of gambling on that.
True.
Because their combo is like, well, if you're not there, if I beat you, then I get value.
Yeah.
And the only thing that can really deny that is Alice.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think on reverse level 1s are reasonable if you just need to accept the idea that like if you play against Alice, the game's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna need a different game plan. But part of the Gura problem for people who play Gura is that in order to keep the game sort of stable, you have to opt into taking a lot of damage from your own cards. It's like damage from Lamy, damage from Aqua, damage from Ame, and so you're gonna put yourself in a pretty deep hole. And so, if in the process of putting yourself in a very deep hole, you're also getting clobbered, you're gonna find yourself a full level behind most of the game. And Gura has the ability to win from like mid 2 pretty well.
Yeah, because if they clobber back, right, with their infinite triggers and like maybe jam a pants here or there, and their opponent's at 2-4, then yeah, perfect.
The game's winnable.
Yeah, but if the opponent is at 2-0, and you only have, because it's so fast, you only have the resource for double Gura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the cat's out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's dug deep into their deck and is starting to pull out like the hate. Where they're like, every stunner, anything that keeps you from moving or untapping, like they won't let you get standby value as easily as when it was more unknown, because that people started to expose this deck in Japan, and like people were getting absolutely clobbered, and so by the time it made it over here, people have already started brainstorming like, what are we gonna do about this deck? And so now everybody's digging out the answers and is like hitting them with it. Yeah. And a little bit of disruption for a deck like this goes a long way.
I did see more than a few players piloting like some configuration of Chloe Suisse Laplace too. Yeah. Like at tournament, and like getting not too far off the top tables. Like
and so it's like
there's hate abound.
Yeah, it's basically every Overlord player that you run against is going to prevent you from getting standby boards.
Yeah.
And then everybody who can stun you or harass your early play characters is going to do it. And then denying Amelia, using some combination of JC or, everybody, there's lots of them in the format, or characters that can't be reversed, like if you're playing Bang Dream or something like this. There's lots of ways to disrupt this deck in a way that they become very uncomfortable very quickly. Now, if they block you down for even a little while, the game gets really spooky really fast, because nothing will kill you faster in Weiss Schwarz than Gura with a lead.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Like, if you're starting to hit level 2 and they're level 1, you should be very concerned, because the game is not likely to improve from that position.
You're gonna have to kill the Gura player from 2-5, like from their 2-5, 2-4. Yeah.
Like, you can't let them hit 3 at that point.
Yeah.
And the other problem is that holding them down is kind of hard, because they have lots of ways to clock themselves, and so like keeping them from hitting level 3 is pretty impossible, due to some combination of play over and stuff like that. So it's a very tricky thing. I think people built Gura and slammed it because they were like, Shark go burr,
Yeah, Shark Week. Yeah. Woo.
And they thought that players would just like eat complete shit, and they were just like, okay, this would be easy clap, right?
I mean, I did eat complete shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the player base isn't gonna lie around and just take it. And so, like, they're going to dig for the answers that come from their sets. And so, they're out there. And they can be very frustrating.
I am highly curious. Last thing on our Spy Corner today. Some of us from Dallas, including me, are going to go to New York next week at time of recording. I am very curious to see how many Guras make it to top 8 here. Because if it's only like 1 or 2 again, I'm not even super sure it would get hit.
Yeah,
unironically.
Well,
because people are all like, man, I hate Gura, this shit's so cringe, I keep getting killed from 2-0 with double Gura, like, the game sucks, I hate this, you should keep dying. But like, let's say that a mid-season ban comes, which it did last year. I don't know that you can expect it. It might happen, but I'm not even sure if the top 8s continue to be very diverse. I'm not even sure who they would hit, what they would hit. Like, if Slime wins again, like, are you really gonna hit Slime?
It's one of those. It's one of those things where it's like not just winning, but converting in a way that is like possibly unhealthy. But my feelings are this. There's 2 things to consider with a ban list always. One is performance. Conversion is probably the most important performance metric, like how many players versus how many cuts, right? Because if it's converting at a very, very high rate, that indicates a highly stable success platform, where like winning tournaments takes some luck, but making top 8s consistently is a sign that a deck might just be slightly overpowered. The other thing to consider is the player base and their feelings of how the deck wins matters. Whether we want it to or not. There are ways that people play the game, and ways that cards deny play of the game that is not good feeling. Yeah. And whether it wins a lot or not is absent from the discussion of whether that sort of mechanic is a net positive for the players of the game.
Yeah. So you can argue, and I would argue that like having Gura be a deck that can consistently threaten lethal regardless of whether you are 2-0 to 3-6, right? And thereby, like, having in your head, like, a good chance of preventing you from playing your level 3, like, ever, right? It is something to think about. Sure.
I think that's the primary driver around Alice and why people want to see it go away.
That too, because this one, without standby and like without like that specific setup, you get this other setup that you mill through their whole deck, and then you get like not that much hand back, but you get like all of our stock.
311Ks.
Yeah, we get 311Ks at level 1, and like
good luck.
Yeah.
And the backups to guard them with.
Yeah, exactly.
And it happens pretty reliably.
Yeah.
Like 2 is almost guaranteed, and 3 is very common.
Yeah.
At this point, players have like figured out all the math, and the people who are still piloting it are getting very, very good at it.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those questions where it's like, should this deck exist? If it does, should it be this reliable? And if it is, how is the player base going to feel about it? Like if you are playing a regular deck and this deck is around, it is not fun to play against. And you kind of have to force yourself to practice against it because you know that it's not going to be super fun to play against because you're going to get clobbered until you can stabilize the board. And if you never stabilize the board, then the game's kind of lost. But the reverse of it is also true, where if you build this board and then your opponent answers it, you kind of got nowhere to go, and the game becomes very binary very quickly. And so
yeah.
for Alice players, it can also be a source of frustration to be like, you gave us this all-in strategy and then you printed like 25 things to defeat it with, and now if my opponent defeats my thing, I have basically nothing. So the fact that quintuplets is not super great in the format, in particular like 8 door, it is, you know, if you're an Alice player and your opponent puts down 2 of those anti-early to memory type characters, or like Bang Dream has the same card, and they remove 2 of them from the game after 1 turn of getting it, the game is not likely to stay in a very stable place for very long because you have almost nothing behind it until you hit level 3. So like there might be 1 okay turn that follows that, but then every turn after that gets worse. And so the slower the game goes from that position, the worse it gets. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse for you. So it's very similar to several other decks in the format, where we're seeing a lot of these type of decks that are like very all-in. 95% of the time, I'm going to execute this super all-in strategy for maximum value and hope that it does, and hope that it wins the game. And if it doesn't, I lose the game.
Yeah.
Overlord, Overlord, SAO, and Hololive are all committed to these extremely all-in strategies, where it's like, I'm going to sacrifice literally everything else in the deck and all of its flexibility and any meta in order to jam this one thing that I think is strong enough to win the whole game, and really the whole tournament.
Yeah. But at the same time, that is why Slime is doing quite well.
Yeah, and you know, the results are bearing out that those sort of strategies do not make for good tournament results in the long term, like in a big tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I am highly curious to see what goes down in New York. Highly curious to see if we get a mid-season ban list.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine. I feel like the timing for that would be like after Costa Rica, which is the week after New York.
It's very tricky because you either do a big pass and you hit a bunch of stuff, small hits all across the board to try and like lower the overall power scope of the game. But I think if you do that, then you're gonna have the resurgence of the decks that were stomping last year.
Yeah, Nino would come back if Alice was hit to a place that was untenable to be super reliable. I feel like Nino would come back near instantly.
Nino and Itsuki, and then also Escanor. They're not going to hit Escanor again.
No.
And so, like, if they do a pass and hurt the reliability of a bunch of the decks that are currently there, you're going to see the world's decks from last year resurge on you. And so there's nothing wrong with that, but that's something you have to acknowledge. And the other thing is that I mean, you can't hit everybody. Whoever escapes, that's like near the top of the meta. You know, your Bang Dream, your those type of builds. That's what you're gonna see come back and stronger than ever, because their old foes are all gone.
Yeah.
So whether that's a positive or not, that's something for Bushiroad to decide.
That's fair enough. Hey, do you hear that?
Hang on. Be quiet. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a kind of whistle.
Uh-huh.
It's calling to me. I think I have to go respond.
You have to go respond? Yeah, well, it's a whale sighting. And just a really quick stop in before we go to a last segment of the day. KOF is coming out, and so that's what Steve here is responding to. At time of recording, does it, like, do you have it, or is it incoming next week?
It's incoming from the glorious,
supplier
the land of the rising sun.
Uh-huh.
So it depends on how long it takes to get over here, but it's on its way. We already know the Yute is completely stocked out on some stuff. The Mize are already completely gone.
Yeah, how's that Mize shooting me?
Yeah. So we printed a really good card, and then we put Mai on it, and then we made it signed.
Yeah.
Good luck, Godspeed, kids.
Yeah.
Well,
nice.
So yeah, I think King of Fighters has always been a set that has been near and dear to the hearts of many an old Weiss player, and so yeah. I'm very excited.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And then pointing the harpoon in the other direction, at time of recording next week, also right before New York, Revue Starlight movie set comes out.
Nice. Is this the set?
This is the set. This is it. We finally have a mid-tier deck. Woo! Yeah! It's completely mid. It does nothing special at all whatsoever. Woo!
As expected of the idol sets from Weiss Schwarz.
Yeah. It's like
in America.
It's like the quintessential at this point. It's like the quintessential like mid-tier deck. I feel like it has all of like your generic tools: anti-early counter, a stock swap, a climax swap, good Rickies, brainstorms, one combos that produce value. Good triggers, literally the whole works. But that's just not like anything
that's not what makes a tournament winning deck.
That's not what makes a tournament winning deck
What makes a tournament winning deck is having something distinctly unfair.
Yeah.
To cram into your opponent's eye.
Yeah. So like 7 packets is fine. You gotta get to level 3.
I think that 7 packets can win a Weiss Schwarz game. I think that 7 packets can win a Weiss Schwarz tournament.
Sure.
The question becomes, does the rest of the deck support that sort of strategy?
Tragically, Alice exists, and our 2-Slayer has to reveal a character on top to get 2k power before getting the 6k power.
That might be the worst condition of gaining power for a level 2 Slayer I've ever heard.
Yeah. It's a 4k base.
Yeah, they're all 4K based, but normally they get power from, like, being alive.
Check top. Check top. If it's a character, we get to be 6K base, and then we get the 6K on attack.
Fantastic.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck with that.
Godspeed.
Yeah. What
are we hoping for whale-wise here?
Well, I'm splitting with the Juna Nana Enjoyer. And so we're hoping for a Mahiru sign from my part, because number 1, it's the Ricky, just the Ricky of the set. So like, yeah, we want that SP. We don't want to be buying the good card that's also shiny.
Yeah.
And then the other characters are my split partner's favorite characters, and I don't think they're good, but they're his favorite characters. And also, we want, like, the main girls, Karen, Hikari, because they're the finishers. Of course they are. And, cash money. And also, he's probably going to build that deck. I won't, because I'm just going to build my waifu deck, and that's it. But I'm also going to build one other deck for an ambitious deck today to round out the show for that Trigger League idea. By the time that this comes out, either I'll be drafted on Team Shot and I'll be playing this build, or I'll be drafted on a different team and play some other thing. But if I was drafted on Team Shot, you know, cue an American theme in the background, get the eagles flying overhead, get the gunshots, cannons firing. We do have 12 Shot in Revue Starlight, and it's very funny. That's the only thing I'll say about it. So if you want to look at it here,
I don't.
Yeah. But tragically, I'm gonna make you.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah. So the one combo is actually from set 1 because it's on Shot, and it's just a real classic on attack. If it's a character, add it to your hand.
Like draw a card.
Hooray.
Sure.
It gets 500 power for each other character. It's a base 4K, la-di-da.
At one point, I'm sure that was relevant.
Yep. And it like double combos with a blue early play healer that...
Oh, that's good. Are we running it?
Hell no, because we gotta play Shot. And we're just gonna jam... We're gonna hit face! Hit face! Hit face, Steve!
I thought we just said it comboed. Aren't combos good?
Yeah, we have a different combo that we're playing at level 2.
Got it.
Which is the new combo.
Is this a double combo also?
No. What it does is that if you have the Shot climax that's associated with this card in play, the card itself also gains Shot.
It gains Shot from its own combo.
Yes.
Okay, what does it do?
If you have it played, it's like a 6K base 2/1. It gets 1/5 for each other character that you have, so it's like a 12K, 13K with the Shot climax in play.
Okay.
Which is not like the absolute
It's fine.
worst. Yeah. On attack, burn 1. Hooray! Hooray!
All right, so am I reading this correctly that this combo is semi-self-defeating because if you have the character on the board,
yes,
it can't be in the deck?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Is this a level 3?
This is a level 2.
Oh, okay, so at least it's cheap.
Yeah, we're gonna be like jamming it at 2 and then jamming it at 3, and then what we're gonna do is gonna shuffle back the other copies of it into the deck and try to double trigger all of our shots.
Do we have shuffle back?
We do have shuffle back. In fact, it mills for all of the other characters that you have, if you would like it to, before shuffle back.
Huh.
And then you can shuffle back, give somebody soul.
Oh, plus souls, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Give somebody soul.
All right, so we have a strategy for dealing 1 damage. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we just have 3 double triggers, and we have this shot thing, and then at
we have twin driving?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
The yellow twin driver that from set 2?
Yeah, gets no power whatsoever.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? It just double triggers.
All right, so what do we do at 3?
What do we do at 3? We have our off finisher. We jam our 2 combos.
What's the
again.
off finisher?
Oh, what's the off finisher? It's the same one that we had last time. On reverse, burn 3. Pay 2, ditch 2. Yeah, it draws a card on play, lets you top check 3, rearrange. So after you've done all of your shuffling, you're like, where's my shots?
Yeah.
Put them in order.
Yeah.
Have this guy, and then we also have our set 1 thing that we're gonna send to memory to have our early play healer from one of our last ambitious deck builds. It's like if you have the Karuko in the middle, it gets on attack, pay 1, ditch 1, burn 1.
Right.
And it has draw 2, discard on play. Whoop-de-doo.
Well,
la-di-da.
It's certainly a deck.
It's a deck that exists.
It definitely
in this world.
What I'll say about it is that in the late game, if you have the other shot climax that makes all your level 2s have shot, and like you set up an entire deck of shots, like you mill it down to nothing, and then you shuffle in all the 2s, and then you combo. And
I will say, like, that's not out of the question, because let's say you play one of this guy that mills for all of your other characters, and let's say that you did it with like a board of 3 characters, or no, it's all of your characters. So if you did it with a board of 3 characters, that's 4 just free mill.
Sure.
We have on Death Akatsuki's, we have a Brainstorm. You know, there's a world where you get like 12 cards off the top.
Sure.
Before like we do our finishing
This is very similar in nature to some other older decks that existed, where you want to try and set up like a very specific deck set, so that you can.
And then we get top check 3 rearrange.
So you can execute a reliable end game, a semi-reliable end game strategy.
Yeah.
If you have 3 shots if you have 3 of that 2/1 in the deck, and going into your last turn, that's not nothing.
It is shot.
It's shot and burn 3 and burn 1, and there's like a lot of weird packets coming in. That you could easily die if you're level 3.
So yeah, you have the that's the thing. It's like if you're level 3, but like in the meta right now, you don't want the enemy to be level 3 because then they just kill you first.
Well, if you're 2 and
But
they're
yeah.
3, then that's the strategy you want.
That's the strategy you want.
Right, and so that's kind of what we're going for here. We have a clobber strategy where we have lots of the shot trigger and twin driving, and we want to just
I considered
go
there's
hard.
there's a 3-2 twin driver. It's like a stock healer.
That doesn't feel necessary, no.
And then you get twin drive and like on reverse send the enemy to memory. Why not?
Sure.
It's like a 2-soul attacker that gets twin drive, so you can double trigger shot and then have on cancel burn 1 twice.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. I kind of like this strategy a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you set up 2 of those, if you could afford 2 of those level 3s, and you had a deck full of shots, yeah, your opponent might be in some significant danger.
Oh yeah. Now, you know, our 2 combo does not plus at all whatsoever. Besides being like a 13k when it swings.
We're gonna need every 0+ that exists in the set probably to make this deck work.
Yeah. I didn't slot those in at this time, but like
I assume
you
after
could.
2 or 3 games of play you will.
Yeah, I probably will. There's like a Ricky,
Do they
there's a
have Aqua at
Brainstorm. Huh? No?
No?
Why would I?
I don't know.
It's a mid-tier set, man. Come on.
Aqua at home's pretty mid-tier at this point.
Yeah, honestly. But like, yeah, man. No, of course we don't. I'm sad.
All
we
right.
just have a regular fine Ricky. We have this like 3k free runner. We have like On Death Kotsky and you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll play this against my Persona 5 deck, and if it can beat that, then it's got wheels.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, if I get on Team Shot, then let freedom ring. We'll shoot the enemy to death. See how it goes. Oh, we do have this this 1-0 that gets soul in middle and has clock encore. So
I guess you could keep clocking yourself for value. That's
we
the
just
thing.
keep clocking ourselves for a 2-soul swinger with shot. So fuck it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why play the game regular when you can just play it coin flip?
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not? Why play the game if you can be a lunatic?
Yeah.
Oh, and we have Card Titan.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
At least you can do something
Yeah.
in the mid game.
Yeah, we have Card Titan. It's funny.
It's gonna open up lanes.
Can.
Yeah.
Sure can.
I'm a fan.
So yeah, that's what we got. It's not good. It's not good at all whatsoever. But you can have 12 shot. And that's funny.
I wish your team the best of luck.
Yeah, next time you get to get on this mic and try to pitch me your Persona deck.
Not even.
Oh yeah, not happening.
No, I'm permanently mad at Bushiroad for never printing me a second set to keep the set relevant.
Come on, you don't want to just tell me what's in the mind.
I would just play. Yeah, it's called 8 Empty Doors.
Yeah.
That's how good your combos are.
Oh man. Well, that's gonna be it for our show today. So, tune in next time after your next deck out, and don't you forget to take the refresh point.